Hello and welcome to another episode of Toothless MMA Radio Series Quick Hitters. I'll be your host today, John Galloway, and today, as we look at the world of combat sports, I'll be joined by my guest, the show fight featherweight champ, who is currently 5-0 in her uprising career, Maegan Mayhem Goodwin. Maegan, John Galloway, Toothless MMA, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. So you had a pretty exciting weekend. I think it was about a week ago, last weekend, at Rage on the River against Yuri Medina. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, it was great. It was a very anticipated fight. I've been off for, I think, about 9 months, so it was long overdue, and it felt so good to finally get another win.
Yeah, it was a 9-month layoff for you after going almost back to back, almost in a 7-month period. You had 3 fights. What was that like for you with such a long layoff?
Yeah, I mean, there was a long time before those fights that I couldn't find opponents, or I had so many backouts, and I had 3 fights in I think 4 months, 4 or 5 months, and then it was 9 months off. So it was definitely a big change. I broke a bone in my hand in that last fight and had to have some pins put in, and so I was off for a while, and then I had a lot of tough school, like classes at school, so I just took a little break, and the break was nice for a little bit, and then I was like, why am I taking a break? Because I always have to, be doing something, and so to get back into it was just, what made me reassured what I need to be doing, because it's just what makes me happy, and yeah, it felt really, really good.
Well, you just touched on how you, in your last fight against Yuri Medina, not the one just recently, but your fight previous to that, you had broken your hand, and now this is the second time that you're fighting her. You're fighting her back to back. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage, seeing the same opponent in 2 consecutive fights?
I think it's an advantage just because I knew what she did wrong, and I knew what I could capitalize on. You know what I mean? Like, you see what they have to offer, so you can just base your fight game off that.
Now, did you go into the second fight with a game plan based off of your first fight?
Yeah. I knew she just tried to do what a lot of people try to do to me. She just tried to clinch me up and take me down, or just rush me into the cage. And I knew that's what she was going to try to do again, and it is what she tried to do again. But I have been working a lot on takedown defense, a lot on my clinch game, and a lot on my throws, like my judo. So that's what I had planned on going into it. I knew she would clinch me up. I was going to, accept the clinch if I felt like it, and, throw her, or, just not accept it and just back out and work my hands. So.
Now, is it easier for you to gauge your growth as a personal fighter going against the same opponent, I guess, on the other end, being on the other side of it?
Not really, because not to take anything away from her, but I would have rather, I didn't pick her as an opponent, obviously, and I would have rather had a more seasoned opponent, or, somebody with more experience and some more wins, but it's hard to gauge. I really wanted a tougher opponent because I really feel like I've grown as an athlete and a fighter the past year. And so I really wanted to see where I was at, which, I mean, I ended the fight pretty quick, so I know that says a little bit about it. But because it went to distance last time,
right.
Even I broke my hand in the fight, but still. But yeah, no, I don't think as much, but a little bit, because I definitely ended the fight like I should have the first time, this time.
And now, people have described you and your fighting style similar to Jessamine Duke of the UFC. Is that a fair assessment based on your height, your weight, your advantages you have with that, the disadvantages? Is that a fair assessment, you think?
I mean, I think so. We're both long and lanky. She's, I think, maybe an inch taller than me.
Okay.
And, so, I mean, we both have that height thing going for us. everything. So I think, yeah, kind of.
Now, how would you describe your fight style? Because you have mentioned in the past that you did have issues with defending the takedown, your clinch game up against the cage. You've mentioned how you like to use your reach, you like to use your kicks and your jabs to your advantage. So, and you just mentioned that you've been working on your throws and your defenses. Are you more of a striking fighter? Or are you more of a rounded fighter? Do you have a specific area that's strength? How would you describe your fight style?
I think I'm becoming more rounded, but all in all, I like stand up a lot better. I just like the kickboxing style a lot more. I like to throw a lot of kicks and a lot of jabs and stuff like that. So I like stand up better, but I'm definitely developing more on the ground and developing more in like transition and like my clinch and takedowns too.
Right. Now, as of right now, you're still currently under amateur status, correct?
Yes.
What's your time frame for going pro?
We had planned on going pro this summer, but obviously that's not happening since I didn't plan on taking such an extended break. But since I did, I think I'm at least going to have one more amateur fight. I know for sure. So if I feel good after that one, I might look to turn pro right after that one. But if not, it just kind of depends on how my next fight goes. I know it's going to be at a bigger promotion, and I know it's going to be a lot tougher competition. So it just kind of depends on how I feel and, how comfortable I am with it after that, because you can't be too prepared in this weight class. Like, this is not an easy sport, so I want to be overly prepared when I decide to make that turn.
Sure. Now, when you do decide to make that turn, which organizations are you looking at? Anybody in particular?
I'm definitely looking at Invicta. I don't think it's a big secret. I post about it a lot. That's definitely where I want to try to be at for a while until, I can get any bigger than that. But that's definitely my goal for now.
All right. Is there what weight class are you looking at? Because I know for the show fight, it was a flyweight, but that was at 135 to 145. Is that correct?
It was that fight was 145. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where I'm comfortable at right now. But I've actually had a lot of muscle gain over my break, so that's why I moved up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to try to lean out as much as possible, and then when I turn pro, I'm going to try to make that drop again. But for right now, I know my next fight's going to be at feather. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you're going to have a problem with that, with the added muscle mass?
I think I am as of now. Like, I know if I tried to cut to 135 right now, I would die. But I think once I lean out a little bit more, then I should be fine.
All right. Now, before you got into fighting, you had started going to school to be a sports trainer. Has that helped you in training yourself for MMA?
It actually has a lot in different ways. Like, I'm still going to school right now, and it's just not even as much like, I mean, it is the things I learn in class, but it's just the people you're constantly around in those settings. Like, I'm around a lot of athletes and a lot of people who are wanting to train athletes. So a lot of them are already certified in a lot of things, and you just hear people, there's just so many people who are so educated on different things. So I've actually learned a lot about nutrition and a lot about just different ways to train your body for different things. So yeah, it definitely helps me a lot, and it's definitely a huge passion of mine. So I'm always learning and always looking at different ways to do things and different things to eat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's got to be a tremendous help, having those people around you. Now, do you almost incorporate them into your training in a sense, as opposed to having a full fight camp? You use the people around you in school and classmates as a source of knowledge and training. Would that be a safe thing to say?
Well, it's not. If there's always people around, if I have any questions, I always eavesdrop on everyone. Like, that's in class. That's how I know a lot of stuff, to be honest. Like, everyone talks before class, and there's a lot of football players and baseball players and everything in a lot of my classes, and I just kind of listen to what they talk about, and, like, a lot of, like, the nerdy people, I'll listen to what they're talking about and see, and, like, because they, like, do random studies a lot, or, like, they try different things, so, and a lot of them will tell it to the class, so I just kind of listen to them. I'm not, like, on a personal level with a lot of people, just because I'm not from this town or anything, but
Okay.
I do have a lot of friends here that are into fitness, and that I've made through the gym or through class, and they help me a lot. Yeah, I have a bunch of people that do help me. I do a lot of researching on my own and stuff too.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. Recently, there's been a lot of people, including professional MMA fighters, that say that with the bigger organizations like Invicta and specifically the UFC, that if a girl is a more attractive female as opposed to less attractive, that she's going to have an easier time in the sport. Do you think that's a fair thing to say, or do you think that's totally off base?
What do they mean as far as an easier time? What do you mean by that?
Based on what some of them are saying, they get marketed better, they get more opportunities to fight because they're easier on the eyes, and they can be sold easier because of the sex sells environment of current marketing. So they say that being an attractive female will make it easier for you in an MMA career.
I actually do completely agree with that. I mean, maybe like in the UFC, it's not going to matter. I mean, I think it definitely matters no matter where you're at. But if you're a good athlete and you're a good fighter, you're not going to be denied either way. But I mean, I definitely think that that's true because I've had people, even when I was just like 1-0 or barely had fought, who wanted me to fight for them without even looking at my fight record, without even seeing anything that I had done, just for the fact that I was a tall blonde who was fighting.
So you've basically experienced
you know what I mean?
firsthand.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had multiple promoters tell me that's why. They'll say everybody will come watch you. You're pretty, or you know what I mean. Just stuff like that. I've had different promoters just go to actually tell me that. So I definitely think that has a lot to do with it.
At least they're not blowing smoke. They're being straight up with you.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you. I know that we talked about 135 would be a tough cut for you. I'm taking it you didn't try out for this upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter?
No, for sure. The 115.
Yeah.
That's like half my body or something. Like, no, there's no way.
Now, do you know any of the girls that are going to be on the show?
I don't know them. I've met a couple of them. I've met Rose. I think I've met Beck, Hyatt, or Rawlings, whatever her name is now.
Yep.
I think those are the only two that I've met now.
Yep.
But I don't know any of them personally.
Do you have any predictions? Any going into it? Any favorites out of the cast that's been announced?
I definitely have. I think Tisha Torres is my favorite. I really like her. I really like Rose. Other than that, I really don't. Those are my two favorites. I hope Tisha wins, and I think she has a good chance of winning.
Yeah, I do too. I've actually did an interview with her a couple of weeks back. Now, tomorrow night, big fight in the female division. Ronda Rousey, Alexis Davis. Who you taking?
Definitely Rousey. I really like Ronda Rousey. I mean, I hate to really get into being a fan of anyone in my weight class or anyone I want to beat someday, but I really like Rousey. I really like her. I don't know. I mean, I've watched Alexis Davis. I like her too, but I definitely think this is going to be one of the tougher fights for Rousey. I hope it is. I want to see a good fight, but yeah, I'm definitely going for Ronda.
All right. Now, recently you put out there that you got a custom mouthpiece made. Why don't you bring up who your sponsors are?
I have a bunch of sponsors. I had a bunch of different ones for this fight. Yeah, my mouth guard is it's freaking awesome. I've never had a custom before, and so I've never really knew the difference a custom made from like a boil and buy, and it's awesome. Like, there's no way that thing comes out of my mouth unless I like pry it out. And I would always have I would always get my mouthpiece shit out during like sparring and stuff. But yeah, it's really cool if anybody who hasn't seen it, it's on my Twitter and my Facebook. But yeah, look, it has my logo on it and everything. So they're one of my really good sponsors. And Red Gear is one of my really good sponsors. And I have them, and then Ignite Sozo. They're my energy sponsor, like my energy drinks. It's all natural coffee-based energy drinks. They have coffee and stuff. And then I have Sports Food, which is an electrolyte strip company, and that is like a lifesaver during my weight cut. So those guys are awesome. Then I also have a sports rub company called Era Sports Rub, and it's definitely my favorite. By far, Sports Rub. And yeah, I have a few other sponsors. I have some really good sponsors. Soapalicious. They make all natural handmade soaps, and they're freaking awesome too. And yeah, I get those every month. And I think that's it. For my last fight.
All right. Well, you just mentioned that if people want to see your new custom mouthpiece, they can check it out on Twitter and Facebook. Where can they find you on social media?
At Twitter, my handle is at Miss Mayhem32, and on Facebook, it's Maegan, Maegan, Mayhem Goodwin, and I also have an Instagram, and it's Maegan Elaine32. So all those places.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode of Toothless MMA's radio series Quick Hitters. I'd like to extend a big thank you to today's guest for joining us. For Maegan Goodwin, this is John Galloway, and we are tapping out.